Pep is a horrible manager, maybe a decent coach, but when we talk about manager, is you manage situations. He doesn't manage anything. Has never managed anything. Before he came in 2013, Henkes had taken Bayern Munich and won the Champions League 2-1 against Borussia Dortmund. And don't forget, Borussia Dortmund was a problem to them at that point, and they go ahead and buy every single player to reduce the competition and improve their squad because of who Bayern Munich is. That's who Pep Guardiola is. He's the guy that wants to have it all and be the bully in the block. It was a perfect scenario for him. He's a horrible defensive coach. I don't know if you play football to only coach offense, but from what I know, you got to coach offense, defense, and even in between as well. But this is a horrible defensive coach. 3 years. He lost in the semifinals 3 years with Bayern Munich in a row for a team that just won the Champions League, has good players, improved their team by buying up the best players from Borussia Dortmund in those 3 years that he was there. 3 years. Who did he lose to in the 3 years that he was in Bayern Munich that made him need a break for 1 year before going to Man City? Another team that has Arab money to help him get whoever he wants. 3 years. Who did he lose to? 3 Spanish teams in a row. What happened with those 3 Spanish teams? These are teams that know him very well. He can't beat the people that know him, especially if he doesn't have these cards all stacked in his favor. And I'm talking about Pep Guardiola here.
On the one hand, when it comes to the existence of coaches with experience, a lot of them are becoming dinosaurs. Right? Case in point, Mourinho.
You mean not connecting with young players and stuff?
Exactly. Mourinho, for all his intelligence and everything, it is just unfortunate that with this current crop of Gen Z players, he just can't bridge the gap. He's an iconic manager, but he struggled with, and he's mentioned the time and over again in his interviews, right, where he raved so much about his players, Schneider, Lampard, Drogba, in the past, where he talked about, in the past, a 23-year-old was a fully grown man who was ready to go to war. But this time around, you have to cuddle them, you have to say nice things to them, otherwise they talk about their mental health, and he's just not connecting with them as much. I want to see the days where, like, the final showdown between Mancini and Ferguson, where the helicopter moved to Old Trafford because Man United had won against Sunderland, and then he had to come back again because something was happening between City and QPR, right? So that excitement and dramatization that comes with the Premier League, I believe, with where we are headed, with the young crop of managers at the helm, that is what we are likely going to see in the years to come.
Welcome to Let's Talk Football. My name is CT, and with me is Danny, and we're here to talk some football, and for this episode specifically, the English Premier League. Danny, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, CT.
Yes, there's a lot to talk about with very little time to do it, so I don't want to waste any more time, and let's get right into the conversation for the day. For this episode of Let's Talk Football, we're basically focusing on top soccer leagues in the world, but we're going to be focused on the Premier League because a lot has been going on in the Premier League and we want to get to it on the show. So I'm excited to talk about it. If I don't stop smiling, it's because I have a very good reason not to stop smiling. But okay, so I'm going to get serious here. First thing I'm going to do is this episode is basically recorded on Tuesday, December 3, 2024. Basically, if you watch this after that, that's a reference for the conversation that we're actually going to be having today. I'm just going to go quickly at the Premier League table as at right now. We got Liverpool play 13 games at the top of the table with 34 points, followed closely but far by Arsenal with 25 points, 13 games played as well. Then Chelsea 25 points, 13 games played as well. Brighton 23 points, 11 points behind the leaders Liverpool, and then Man City 23 points as well, 13 games played, 11 points behind leaders Liverpool. I'm going to just quickly mention here Tottenham Hotspurs is 7th with 20 points at this stage of the season with 13 games played, and Manchester United 19 points, 9th place at this point in the season with 13 games played as well. So we're going to get right into the hottest topics in the English Premier League right now, and we're obviously going to start with the struggles of Manchester City, and we're going to start from the top as we know it, the manager of the team, Pep Guardiola. So I'm going to get right into it. A few things that we're just going to talk about the Man City struggles. We're going to talk about their struggles, players not playing up to speed, Kyle Walker's struggles, Phil Foden's struggle, the injury crisis at the team right now, and in my opinion, a complete meltdown happening right in our very eyes for the manager, Pep Guardiola. Before I let you get into it, I just have one statement to make initially, and I'll let you get into it. And before I kind of respond and comment on it, the first thing I wanted to say is that I'm excited. I'm happy that Pep Guardiola signed a new contract. I am excited that Pep Guardiola signed a new contract. This is an opportunity for him to stay and weather the storm and not have to run. But I'll let you go, Daniel. What do you think about Manchester City right now in the English Premier League? Basically being fifth position, 23 points. This is normally what other teams do, but for a club like Manchester City, basically crisis everywhere.
Well, thank you very much, City. I'll start off by saying that I would go a little contrary to what the popular opinion is. I think this is just a drop in the ocean for Man City. It's not too much of a big deal, and we are only making this a big deal because it is Pep Guardiola at the helm, and it's because it's Man City. However, if there's any club or manager in the world that has earned the right to endure such a spell of poor results over 7 games, I'm sure they'll break that spell hopefully tomorrow when they play against Nottingham Forest. But if there's any club or manager over the past maybe decade or two to have earned the right to have this, to be cut some slack when it comes to having a poor run of results, there's no better name than Pep Guardiola in Man City. Right? And I think there's a mass hysteria because it is Pep. So everybody is acting in a certain way because, of course, it is Pep. And people are making certain predictions, which I find to be very, one, outlandish and two, way too early. It's just 13 games into the season. And if anything if there's anything that we should have known by now, we know what Pep does when it comes to the curve. That is the December-January curve. Right. As to whether that is going to be the case this time around, we'll live to see. But I still stand strongly by the opinion that this is just a spec, and it is something that they would easily weather with time. But when it comes to City and then their struggles, at least now that I've given my preamble, let me get into the main thing. City and then their current struggles. I think we've had this conversation in previous episodes where we touched on the fact that they have been quite poor in replacing certain players that have left. And the very last one was Gundogan. But Gundogan is back now. But the Gundogan that left is not the one that came back. Right? And even in many instances, the Gundogan that we've known in the past, he only rises to the occasion when the season is coming to the end. So the problem City is struggling with at the moment has been with their recruitment policies. Now Tixi is left. That is the sporting director that came from Barcelona first before Pep joined. He has left. So I'm sure strategy from the top is likely going to change slightly. And on the other hand, the policy that Pep had in place that so long as you say you want to leave, you are going to leave. I think this current bad spell they are facing at the moment is giving us an indication of how maybe, just maybe, it is coming back to haunt them. But I'm being very careful as well because it's just 13 games. Right? And even at that, they are still 4th. Or is it 5th? Right? So this goes to show you that, yes, there's trouble in paradise, but you know the person at the helm. And the person at the helm has earned every right. This is the only manager on the continent to have won 2 trebles, 2 intercontinental trebles. This is the only manager on the continent when it comes to the English Premier League's history to have won it 4 times in a row. Right? This is the only manager on the continent to have won. Okay, the 6th pool has now been won severally by other managers too, but he's the first to many. Right? And apart from Ancelotti, I don't think there's any other manager that has the leverage of being able to show that they are human and lose games too, because after all, you can't be invincible for far too long. At some point, the cloak of invincibility has to come off. But 13 games in, I'm still. I think the tale of Pep is like the Madrid team in the Champions League, right? It's like a snake. When you kill the snake, you haven't finished killing it. Chop off the head, chop off the tail, chop off the middle part. So until we've ended the season and then Pep is not able to weather the storm, I am still going to hold my horses and trust the one that has done it consistently because he has earned the right to. And if there's anybody on this planet Earth in terms of management who can do the unthinkable, it is Joseph Guardiola. So I think Man City's current struggles, yes, it's an acclimatization of poor recruitments that has been done over time because Doku hasn't yielded as much results. Grealish has been an absolute flop. Savinho hasn't been, he looks flashy, but he's not good enough. Right? And then there is Matthias Nunes that they bought from Wolves, who hasn't been as impressive. And then given their injury struggles as well, of course, if you miss a player of Rodri's caliber, it is going to be very visible. Right? Because Man City over time has not been known to be in a very good defensive team. Right? The shape of the team is what helps them. But when it comes to defensive prowess, they are not known for having the best of defenders. Fairly decent defenders, but a very good structure that at least they press very high. They have this 6-second rule where as soon as they lose the ball, within 6 seconds, they have to get it back. Right? And we are not seeing that this time around. So I'm seeing a mixture of a number of things. One, perhaps a lack of desire from the current crop of players because they've won all there is to win. And perhaps Pep has gotten to the saturation point where he can't motivate them as much anymore. Or on the other hand, the players that have replaced the ones that have left are not good enough. So there's that mismatch in terms of continuity. But all in all, Man City is still Man City, and so long as Pep is still at the helm, I won't be quick to jubilate just yet. And I'll sound this word of caution out to everybody else, especially you, City. Yeah, so I'll end my submission on this point.
I'll begin first to be like, I am not quick to jubilate. I've been saying this for 10 years, just that I didn't have a platform to say it. So I am not being quick to jubilate in the first place. I have just sat back and watched Pep be fraudulent for over 10 years. And in my opinion, like they say, there's a good saying that, when the breeze blows, finally the ass of the chicken actually shows up. But my point is, I don't think I have, I'm rushing to this kind of what's happening with Pep, because I think Pep is a horrible manager, maybe a decent coach. But when we talk about manager, is you manage situations. He doesn't manage anything, has never managed anything. And I'm going to make a few points about this, because I said I was going to elaborate on Pep in an upcoming episode, and I'll do a decent job of doing it going forward as at first. Pep is a manager that needs everything to be perfect before he can win. He has never won as an underdog, ever. And I challenge anybody to bring up any trophy that Pep has won in his career as a manager where he was not the favorite to win that trophy.
Sorry to cut you, but he was an underdog when he moved from Barca Team B to Team A. Nobody knew him.
Like 15 years ago.
Nobody knew him.
Okay. I mean, when it comes to this whole theory about him being a top manager, I'm guessing we are not considering him a top manager when he moved from the A team to the B team. Well, there the pressure is different. But when he was the coach of Barcelona, a top club and won trophies, he was not coming in as an underdog to anybody. Frank Rijkaard had built an excellent team already. A lot of their core players outfit. A lot of their core players.
The team was on decline. The team was on decline. Deco, Ronaldinho, Eto'o, they were on decline, and he sacked all of them.
But the core of his players were already on that team. Carlos Puyol, Iniesta, Xavi, Lionel Messi were already in the senior squad, and those became the core players Guardiola used to be successful while at Barcelona.
Yeah, so you catch your back and catch your back. It was what happened for the two of them.
I get it. He's the manager. He managed them. But let's not underrate the work that Frank Rijkaard had done. Yes, they were on a decline, but there was so much talent. And I would use that as an example too, where you talk about, and I don't think Liverpool is on decline, but John Ancelotti right now is the manager. And you can see he picked up quality players and made no excuses and winning in his first season. But my whole point is that Pep got a quality team in Barcelona. And let's not pretend like Barcelona is your regular club. Barcelona is one of the top 5 clubs in the world on any metrics, even when Pep joined that team as the manager, whether it comes in history, trophies, and whatever. So Pep is your typical front runner, leaving the job at Barcelona to go to Bayern Munich, Bayern Munich, before Pep Guardiola joined Bayern Munich, and the Bayern Munich one, it surprises me that everybody pretends like Pep Guardiola did not coach in Bayern Munich. I'm going to read out a few things about the incredible achievements of Pep Guardiola in Bayern Munich. It's an obvious fact, Bayern Munich dominates German Bundesliga. So him coming in and winning 3 straight Bundesligas doesn't impress me. It's the same thing. You come in, you're expected to win. I don't get how that is impressive to me. But he won 3 straight Bundesligas. But let me remind people, Bayern Munich was a really good team in the German league when he came in. Before he came in 2013, Henkes had taken Bayern Munich and won the Champions League 2-1 against Borussia Dortmund. And don't forget, Borussia Dortmund was a problem to them at that point, and they go ahead and buy every single player to reduce the competition and improve their squad because of who Bayern Munich is. That's who Pep Guardiola is. He's the guy that wants to have it all and be the bully in the block. It was a perfect scenario for him. But I'll go ahead and continue and say this. He won 3 straight Bundesliga. I'm not impressed. Jupp Heynckes won Bundesliga titles. Managers keep winning titles in Bayern Munich. It's nothing. They dominate that league at that point, and even till now, they have an upper hand in the German Bundesliga. That's not impressive to me. But let's check out his record and what would be impressive and what Bayern Munich is looking for. He came in, they won the Champions League in 2013. He was not taking a bad team. This was a really good team as well. You don't win the Champions League by being a poor team, right? But what was his 3 Champions League results in the Champions League? He's a horrible defensive coach. I don't know if you play football to only coach offense, but from what I know, you gotta coach offense, defense, and even in between as well. But this is a horrible defensive coach. 3 straight years in Bayern. Don't forget, even when he left Barcelona, he needed a year to recover. This guy, like, let's get it twisted right. Like, he can't handle pressure. He wants everything perfect. So what happened in 3 years? He lost in the semifinals 3 years with Bayern Munich in a row. For a team that just won the Champions League, has good players, improved their team by buying up the best players from Borussia Dortmund in those 3 years that he was there. 3 years. Who did he lose to in the 3 years that he was in Bayern Munich that made him need a break for 1 year before going to Man City? Another team that has Arab money to help him get whoever he wants. 3 years. Who did he lose to? 3 Spanish teams in a row. What happened with those 3 Spanish teams? These are teams that know him very well. He can't beat the people that know him, especially if he doesn't have these cards all stacked in his favor. And I'm talking about Pep Guardiola here. And when these cards are not stacked in his favor, and I've been waiting for this, and this is an example, is going to show how poor of a coach that he actually is. I wouldn't say coach. I want to be very careful. I want to use the word manager, actually, about how bad he is as one. That's and I'm going to state out the 3 years in Dortmund. In Bayern Munich, his results in the semifinals. The first year he came to, basically in 2014, right? The first thing he lost to was, I think, Barcelona 5-3 on aggregate. Yes, 5-3 on aggregate to Barcelona. And if we're being very honest about it, that 5-3 is actually very flattering because he lost 3-0 in the first leg. And you know, when you lose 3-0 in the first leg, what is the second leg for? Basically, an opportunity to play at the top level, being the defending champion, going back to the same Barcelona he left 2 years ago, right? And they actually know him. They know he's a horrible defensive coach. He has a good squad, but he can't actually manage to save his life if everything is not in his favor. He lost 3-0 in the first leg at Barcelona, ended up 5-3. 5 goals considered in the Champions League for a top manager. Second year, he plays Real Madrid. Aggregate, what did he play in the first leg? 3-0. The second leg was basically, doesn't matter. These are teams that actually know him. And don't get me wrong, he still has a very good squad and a lot of financial backing in Bayern Munich. That's what he got on his second year. The third year, where he couldn't handle the pressure, think about who took him out of the Champions League in semifinals. Atletico Madrid beat him in the semifinal on away goals. That ended 2-2. First leg, they lost 1-0. So my point is, there is this whole idea like this guy is a good manager. He stacks decks on his favor. Smart. That could be smart, but that's fraudulent, in my opinion. He has never won anything as a favorite in his coaching career. If anybody wants to bring up an opportunity, like at the top, Barcelona, first team, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and now Man City. Now, what happened when he moved to Man City recently, his first year? He came into Man City. It was kind of weird here when he came into Man City because Leicester had just won the league. That was like Man City was there, Leicester just won the league. Man City was a really good team because Man City was playing excellent football with Man City and they won the league themselves a year before that, before Leicester came in, with players that we now consider excellent and great players. Jamie Vardy is still playing at a decent level at that age right now. N'Golo Kante would know what he actually became as a great World Cup winning player, Chelsea, Champions League, everything, every trophy, and Riyad Mahrez. I can't speak enough about how good he is. But Leicester came in. I would say Claudio Ranieri, to me, is a better manager than he did, because I would guarantee you give him 15 Leicester squads 20 times, in fact, 200 times, he would not finish top 4 in any league in the world. And let's not insult Claudio Ranieri. That's actually a manager that has done so well in his career, coached Juventus as well, because everybody wants to look at what's shiny. There's nothing actually impressive about what Pep Guardiola has done in his whole top league coaching career. And that's, he came into that Man City squad. If you remember that season, he was the favorite to win the league because every other team was in shambles because Leicester just won the league. What happened? Everybody decimated Leicester. Everybody took the players they can take from Leicester, N'Golo Kante to Chelsea and all that, right? He was the favorite coming in because he just won a year ago. Chelsea was in shambles. Antonio Conte comes in that year. And what happened to Manchester City? They collapsed in his first year. Why? Because the stacks are not yet stacked in his favor. What do we know? Man City has the money to actually go in there and buy whoever they want to buy. But in the first year, maybe you show us that you're a manager. What happened? Conte started horribly the first about 10 games. What did he do? Switch to a 3-man defense and won the league. Now, that is a manager that actually knows how to deal with adversity. What did he do after that in the first year? I can't coach defense. You just said it. He doesn't know how to coach defense. So what do I do when I don't know how to do something? Splurge money at it. Let's not forget how many 50 million plus euro defenders he has bought at Man City. And yes, somebody will tell me Harry Maguire of Manchester United, that's one player. Somebody will say Van Dijk of Liverpool is so important. That's one defender, right? That these teams needed and paid good money for it. Let's count how many 50 million euro players Man City has gotten. Benjamin Mendy. I hope guys remember who Benjamin Mendy is. 50 million plus. John Stones, 50 million plus. Aymeric Laporte, 50 million plus. Ruben Diaz, 50 million plus. Kyle Walker was an excellent player at Tottenham. Snatched that up as well. 50 million plus, right? Ruben Diaz, 50 million plus. How many players are you going to throw money at? Let's talk about the other top managers. 50 million plus defenders, paying 50 million plus defenders is not a normal thing in football. You get 1 or 2, you're expected to have a solid defense. Over 3-4 years, he's bought at least 6 of them. The first time he really, in my opinion, got success was when he hit on Ruben Diaz in Ruben Diaz's first season, right? And that was like Ruben Diaz came and took over and helped him in that scenario, but he keeps throwing money at it. I'm not going to look at all the other positions because everybody pays top dollars, Haaland, Rodri, and all the other players in those positions. I'm talking about defense now because he can't coach defense to save his life. He can't manage it. And he doesn't even want to try because everybody goes around telling him how great of an offensive guy he is, as if coaching is just offense in one place. Well, if you watch American football or something, he could be a great offensive coordinator, not a manager for both sides of the game, right? And that was just, then after that, he was able to splurge all this money. Don't forget, I'm not trying to use this against him, but he got 115 charges in financial fair play. There's a lot going on there trying to actually buy these players. That's going to come up. That whole thing is going to have to play out at some point. And that we can all make excuses for him and injuries and whatever. Everybody has gone through injuries. Van Dijk had his injury. Manchester United struggled or struggles with injury in recent years. If we want to do excuses, there's enough to actually go around. But do you know why previous years he couldn't make the same excuses like other people with injury? He had the deepest squad in the Premier League. Gabriel Jesus came from the bench. My goodness, Riyad Mahrez was a consistent bench player. Let's just think about that for a second. Riyad Mahrez was a consistent bench player. Until he left, Phil Foden wouldn't have been the guy he was today. Cole Palmer had to leave. This is the level, I'm not saying, but the level of depth that he uses both money to pay for, but the team was able to afford to allow him to kind of withstand injuries, especially in December, January. This year is not going to be like that. Those amount of depth is no longer there because you know why? Guys like Gabriel Jesus, Julian Alvarez, they want to be respected a little bit more than just be kept there as depth players. So now those guys are not there anymore because, they are much better than you actually think they are because they spend a lot of good money buying those guys, right? You spend good money for good stuff. So in my opinion, this guy has been a guy that intentionally walks into situations that he cannot lose. And that's why I say I'm super excited that he signed a new contract. Because in my opinion, what I was worried about was that he would run away before he had to deal with this. That's what he does. At Barcelona, that team was not dead. He left and he will tell you he needs a break. In Bayern Munich, why did you leave after 3 Bundesligas? Because you were an absolute failure in the Champions League. 3 straight semifinals, and he literally could not sleep at night and needed a year off only to go stack his cards in Man City. Manchester United wanted him. Go prove yourself there. No, I want the Arab money that I know would actually splurge and get me whoever I actually want. You know one thing with American businessmen in Manchester United? They don't want to be running losses. They need these fans to keep paying. You know what I mean? These Arab guys have enough money to splurge and not really care if they get a return on it, as long as, quote unquote, they win. 4 straight Premier League titles. A good manager will win that with that level of resources. It took him 5 years as favorites in the Champions League to win the UEFA Champions League. I want people to just take a minute to actually think about that. It took him 5 years. How many managers in the world will be given 5 years to win Champions League with that level of resources? And I remember you said that he has earned the right. No, he hasn't earned the right. He has never gone through adversity. And I can't wait to see if he can actually be a manager and actually stand in there. I'm so happy he got that contract. And I wouldn't be surprised if suddenly he's like, first of all, I'm not trying to minimize it, but him scratching his nose, I don't like that. I need him to be healthy and go through this, right? I need him to be in good health and good. Please, Pep, I actually want you to be healthy and be fine so that you can actually show us that you're a very good manager in adversity. But my whole point is I know, I'm confident, can't be sure, but he would need to show it, but I'm confident he's a horrible, sucks manager. A manager that cannot sit down and fix the defense and throws money at it. Give me money too, I would actually fix my deficiencies. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure it's what we're actually out here actually praising people for and actually making them goods. I actually needed him to stay in this one. And I'm actually, in my opinion, it's actually, for me, I can't wait to watch it play out. Like, he's actually just, in my opinion, he's just melting down. But it's not the first time I've seen Pep have a meltdown. I don't know if people remember, in Bayern Munich, he had a meltdown, 3 straight Champions League semifinals, and he ran away. All I'm hoping for this time is that, Pep, you're older, you're smarter. I would guess that you're able to handle this better. You signed a new contract. You got that money. I'm very happy you got that money and you got that security in your job. Don't leave it. No, don't leave it. And I'm sure the owners too don't want to let you go because you earned the right. You did earn the right to actually go through this adversity. And I cannot wait, right, to actually see Pep exposed as a horrible manager that he is. Good coach, good offensive coach. There's something that they call offensive coordinators. There are people that are like offensive geniuses. Doesn't mean you can manage a team. That's Pep for me. He's an offensive genius in a way, but maybe that's exactly what he is. Let's not call him a top manager in the world. Let him show us how to manage a team and not make excuses. Other people that win, they find a way not to make excuses as well. And he has had the most resources all over his career. Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Man City. Cut me a slack. Cut me a slack for guys like Ancelotti that has done it in different places. Cut me a slack for Jurgen Klopp in Dortmund and Liverpool with Pep being there. Cut me a listen, please, top manager. Antonio Conte, better with resources. Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and Man City. I wish he was with Man City when they didn't have the Arab owners, and suddenly we'll be saying what we're saying about him and actually thinking that he's a great manager. Can he go coach Newcastle right now with the Qatari owners? He doesn't want to do that, but maybe if Newcastle pumps in some money 10 years from now and becomes what Man City is now, he comes in, the only guy that can coach big teams. Come on. But that would be the end of my rant for Pep Guardiola. But my whole point about this is I can't wait to see this play out. I think he's a fraud of a manager, a good offensive coach, a horrible defensive coach. If you add those two things together, horrible defensive coach, genius offensive mind, that's super average in my opinion. I don't see how you can actually put that against the Mourinhos of the world. Can you imagine talking about winning trophies in Roma, Porto, Chelsea, as when it came to Chelsea, with Arsenal being so good, Manchester United dominating the league, right? At that point, He came into Man City when Man City had already won a trophy recently. He came into Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich just won the Champions League. He doesn't go to jobs that are challenging at all. If you look at his history and compare him to all these other managers, when Mourinho came to Chelsea, Chelsea was not winning Premier League trophies back to back. Jurgen Klopp came to Liverpool when they were on the downturn. I had to let go of Coutinho. Do you guys remember the team that he took over before he signed Mo Salah and then had the Mane? Like, I don't get it. It's like we forget because it looks so shiny in Man City and they can actually parade some beautiful and spend some money and make it look good. And especially those pundits. I need those pundits to keep defending him. And they will do that till the end of the year, till their credibility is on the line. But my whole point is, and my very good friend Daniel, I know you want to cut him some slack. No, I'm not. He hasn't earned the right for it. But most importantly, for him to earn the right to it, this is the time. You know, sometimes things happen and you got to show and prove it, the adversity. To me, he hasn't done it yet. But this is the time. If he actually proves it to me or shuts me up or gets out of it or stays in Man City, gets through these whole charges and this scenario, I have no problem. But until then, let's not actually create narratives that actually don't exist for Pep Guardiola. Basically, I'll end there and we're going to continue with the show. Because I can go on and on about Pep because people will be like, it's what? No. Right from before Bayern Munich, I might have fallen for he was a decent coach. Because, you know, he was in Barca, he won, there's Messi, you think, and then you go to Bayern Munich and he showed me he has no adjustment in him. He's a really stubborn guy. It's my way or the highway in terms of the style that he plays, right? And that's, in my opinion, why he overworks the defenders and he can't coach it. He doesn't even know what's happening in defense and midfield because his identity is so built on how great he is offensively, but he wants to be a manager. He doesn't want to be an offensive, creative director. He's even director. I don't even know what to call him in soccer when you're so good offensively. But Pep Guardiola, I'll be so excited and please prove me wrong, you know. Who am I? Of course, the pundits know better than me and I would let them get to that. And let's go around to the next thing on the table. Another favorite topic of us on this show would be talking about Manchester United. So since the last time that we're on here, we went in a little bit on Erik ten Hag, you know. Guess we're not crazy when we went in on him, right? So that means it was that bad for Erik ten Hag and he was finally let go. And in my opinion, they appointed a new manager, an up-and-coming manager in Ruben Amorim from Sporting Lisbon, his latest gig. So what do you think about the new coach, where Manchester United is? And I'll just give a quick take on that.
Okay. It is good. At least we are doing a detour from Pep and the city rivals of Manchester United. So I think at Manchester United, with Ruben Amorim, I think he's part of this current crop of promising, quote-unquote, promising coaches that are on the rise. And the stocks have been up, I think, for the past 2 years. And given what he's done with Sporting Lisbon, breaking the duopoly between Porto and Benfica in the Portuguese league, winning them trophies in a very, very long time, being an understudy to Mourinho at Manchester United. And last season, his stocks were at an all-time high where almost everybody was looking for him, from Chelsea to West Ham. He even had to fly to West Ham at some point, and he had to apologize to his club eventually for breaking protocol in that sense. I think what I see from Amorim is promise. That is the most we can work with at this point. And there have been many like him. Once upon a time, there was Villas Boas. Right? And there have been a crop of younger coaches or promising coaches on the rise. I think he's 39, which coming on the scene and then possibly wanting to at least impose themselves and their styles on the game. And these kinds of appointments are becoming much more prevalent with the top clubs because everybody's looking for the next big thing. In as much as, yes, I detest Arsenal with everything inside me, and I do not think Arteta is good enough of a coach. I think the Arteta model is something that most clubs are thinking, okay, if Arsenal could do it, because Arsenal were in the trenches before Arteta came on board. And after 3 years, when they were 8th, there was just a spring that happened in the last 2 years, as we are seeing with Arteta.
Yeah, second position and stuff. Yeah.
Right. So I think most clubs are now trying to say, okay, and on the one hand, when it comes to the existence of coaches with experience, a lot of them are becoming dinosaurs. Right. Case in point, Mourinho.
You mean not
Mourinho,
connecting with young players and stuff?
exactly. Mourinho, for all his intelligence and everything, it is just unfortunate that with this current crop of Gen Z players, he just can't bridge the gap. He's an iconic manager, but he struggled with, and he's mentioned the time and over again in his interviews, right, where he raved so much about his players, Schneider, Lampard, Drogba, in the past, where he talked about in the past, a 23-year-old was a fully grown man who was ready to go to war. But this time around, you have to cuddle them, you have to say nice things to them, otherwise they talk about their mental health, and he's just not connecting with them as much. And the same is true for other managers too, in terms of the older ones. Right? So older successful managers are not as many on the scene anymore. Ancelotti is talking about retiring after his gig with Real Madrid, right? And you can handpick the number of experienced managers on the scene at the moment. So it only makes sense that at least you jump on the bandwagon and then get the next big thing. And that's what Manchester are doing with Amorim. If his time with Sporting Lisbon is anything to go by, it is a good start. And so far, having joined Manchester United in the few games he's played, he comes across as a very stubborn manager as well, where he zeroes in highly and affirmatively on his principles of three-back system. As to whether that would translate very well with this current crop of Manchester United players, he has the whole season for us to see whether it would work with them. And then even January window to make a few tweaks if possible. But I think for me, I'd look at him much more critically from the coming season, next season. This is his preseason to me. He should do, and I think you do very well. I believe you do very well, and I believe we are getting into the dawn of competition again in the Premier League, where almost everybody is above average, right? As opposed to what we've encountered with Pep, where it's just diametrically opposed. Pep is just running ragged in the league, but we'll get back to the age of everybody is above average and anybody can beat anybody. So the league, yes, with Pep, it has gone down to the last days as well, but the excitement, because you know City would win either way, but the excitement of not knowing where the league will go to, just like case in point when Manchester and Mancini and then Ferguson's showdown, where the helicopter was flying one way to. So just as I was mentioning earlier, given how almost we are getting to the point where almost every team is going to be above average, there's going to be that healthy competition back in the Premier League again, because Pep looks like he'll be leaving very soon. So it just takes me...
No, please. He cannot leave very soon.
No, he has just a year left on his contract.
But he signed a new contract.
Yeah, so 2026. It's not too far off.
So the new contract was only till 2026?
Yes, it's just a 1-year contract.
How did I miss that? I thought it was for like 5 years or 6 years or 7. Come on now. I thought Man City loves it. Oh.
No. He's been there for 10 years. He's done enough.
He's about to run away. He's about to run away again. Well, typical Pep, right?
He has played his dues. The nitty-gritty of Pep and whether he's deserving of A or B, I think we can talk all day, right? But bringing the conversation back to Amorim, I want to see the days where, like, the final showdown between Mancini and Ferguson, where the helicopter moved to Old Trafford because Man United had won against Sunderland, and then he had to come back again because something was happening between City and QPR, right? So that excitement and dramatization that comes with the Premier League, I believe, with where we are headed, with the young crop of managers at the helm, that is what we are likely going to see in the years to come, unless maybe one manager stands out just like Pep has done over the past few years and dominates the league again. But I don't see that in anybody just yet. Arteta doesn't have it. And for the others, Ancelotti, yes, these are early days. Maresca, these are early days. So Amorim has come at the right time. The pressure is spread across, of course. It's Manchester United, so he's going to have immense pressure on him. But from his presses, he seems to be a young man with a good head on his shoulders. And I'm quite confident from how he answers questions and everything that he's going to do well. And at least we'll have that level of healthy competition back in the Premier League again.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that, where Guardiola goes, he stacks the Chiefs and takes everybody's players and best players. Okay, I'm gonna stop with the Guardiola thing, and we're just gonna get to the other topics. But yes, my thoughts on Manchester United and Ruben Amorim, as you said, he's new. So we got to find out what he's about. The good thing about the time he came into the Premier League, you made a really good point, is the fact that there is a whole lot more parity. So it's a good time to come in and not be fighting hegemons or like big things weighing on you the way Man City has a little bit for a little while here. So I think that's a good opportunity for him to actually come in. Do I have much of an opinion? He did well in Sporting Lisbon. The English Premier League is a different beast. One thing I can say about, in my opinion, the success of Mikel Arteta, some people might not say, I think he has been successful so far with the continuous, for me, it's about growth, with the continuous improvement of the team so far. Yes, he's been second, now it's about being first, but there's a continuous development and improvement of Arsenal. I also say it's also, if you consider that he's not too experienced, but he has been in the Premier League a really long time, played in the league, been an assistant in the league, basically been in the Premier League. Coming in from the Portuguese league, you're going to find out pretty soon that the Premier League is a different beast and there's a lot to learn, different from how football might work great in the Portuguese league. So I think, in my opinion, give him some time to learn. I'm not necessarily trying to say that he shouldn't have any time. I don't have the same expectations I have of him. For people like Pep, Slot maybe having 6 months of a leeway, Enzo Maresca, stuff like that. Mikel Arteta, in my opinion, a little bit ahead in understanding the Premier League. There's a dynamic today that you actually need to actually sit down and understand. So the only thing I would say is I hope he's not good. But I hope he's not good, but I don't have much to say at the moment. He has won a couple games here since coming in, a comfortable 4-0 win against Everton. And I have to comment on that. The rumor going around is that Rashford is back. I'm just going to go, well, it's a rumor, but I'm going to go into it, For me, it's what front runners do sometimes. When everything is good and it's new, they shine. When the pressure comes in and you got to prove yourself, they shrink, right? Rashford is on it again. New manager, want to impress him, get that new contract, 7 years and get stuck. New manager that maybe is not so hard on him. The way Ten Hag will come with old school, so he's feeling good. Got a new girlfriend too, that confidence it's high. What happens when it goes 2 years, 3 years in? But Rashford is back. We have seen this story before. We have seen this thing happen. New manager, new situation, front running. Only when things are doing good, I will be doing good. But it's interesting to know. But I'm going to keep an eye on that. I wouldn't be surprised if he has an excellent 3 months and plays the same scam of Manchester United. That would be so wonderful. I will be so glad if they all are like, Rashford is back. He's going to take us the new Bukayo Saka, great. I would love that. But that's just basically the rumor out there is that Rashford is back. We're going to go on to Chelsea's current form in the generally in all competitions at the moment, right? Chelsea has been in great form, won 4 of the last 6 in all competitions, and basically out of those 6 games, drew with Arsenal and Manchester United. So that's a very good stretch in the last 6 games. What do you think about what Enzo Maresca is doing here and where Chelsea is at the moment in basically all competitions? I can see that smile.
I think, yes, again, these are still very early days, but if the viewers who have been with us from the start of the season can remember, I was very, very hard on with my impressions of what the season was going to look like at the beginning, because Maresca was virtually, yes, he won the championship, but still an unknown entity. And the chop and change that was happening at the club, and just the lack of coordination from the top to the playing body, it just didn't scream of anything remotely successful as what the season is looking like so far. And so I'll raise my hands up and say, so far I've been impressed. Could the Chelsea team have done better against certain opponents? Absolutely. Is the defense still in shambles? I would want to believe that. The defense is not so good. The keeper is a disaster waiting to happen almost every game. And my initial fear for Chelsea was how the team was overly dependent on Cole Palmer. That if he fails to to raise up to the occasion, it affects almost everything we do, almost everything Chelsea does. And the opposite doesn't seem to be the truth. But for the past few games, Palmer hasn't been his best either. And it has been nice to see others step up to the plate and then deliver. And I think one thing I would give credit to Maresca for is his tactical variations. Again, he was an unknown entity to begin with. So I didn't know where to start from in terms of assessing his work or the body of work that he has. And there was the big cloud over his head where he led Leicester City to almost 12 points, 13 points advantage. And he almost lost the league, right? Even after having such a big jump over time. So there were questions as to how sustainable his methods were. And these are extremely early days too, so I just can't be too sure just yet. But early signs have been good. Chelsea are playing quite well. The boys are looking confident. And I think for the first time in a long time, most Chelsea fans are looking forward to games. Just like the game against Sunderland. Sunderland tomorrow. Or is it Southampton?
Southampton.
Yes. The game,
Sunderland,
them up.
They would need to come up back to the Premier League.
Right. So just like the game against Southampton tomorrow, people are expecting it to be a bloodbath in terms of goals. Even though I beg to differ, because I've watched Southampton a couple of times, and I think what they lack is the self-belief, because they do quite well, but they are not too sure of themselves. All right. So
are they doing well if they are not sure?
That is where the problem is, because I've watched almost even their very recent game against Man City, where they were leading 2-1, and then against Liverpool, sorry. And they're just fluffing their lines at the back. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like they can't believe that they are ahead, right? And you can clearly tell from how they don't pass the ball with conviction. And even when they are defending, it's still in shambles. So Southampton is a team that, yes, they lose, but they score. Almost all the big teams they played against, they get their leg. Yes, they lose eventually, but they put up a fight. And Archie Gray, that is their marksman up front, which is quite good. You give him 2 half chances, he scores 1. All right, so that was just a deviation. But I'm saying all this just to say that Chelsea is looking quite good so far. Yes, they haven't been too convincing against the big sides. They haven't been as decisive against the big sides. But the beautiful thing about the league is you're not playing against the top 6. Like there's a whole host of teams you have to beat on your way as well. And I like how they do that with authority when it comes to the teams that they know they can beat and beat convincingly. So Chelsea's looking good. The season is taking shape quite nicely. And I saw the run of games that the club has lined up for December. It's like almost 7 or 8 games. So this is where I believe the depth of Chelsea will come in very handy as well. And I'm just looking forward to how the team will fend, especially during this curve, the December-January curve. If they're able to survive it, I think Chelsea will have a shot at the league.
For me, I think they're having a good stretch. The team is coming together. A lot of all the long-term planning and project and stuff you can see a little bit of it. Enzo Fernandez is playing a little bit better, and most importantly, we got to give Nicholas Jackson a little bit of his flowers. First season settling, now coming in, playing better. For me, that's a more sustainable approach to actually adjustment. Is you come in, you learn, you struggle, you make mistakes, and then get better. When you hit the ground running right away, it's interesting for me when you actually hit the bump, what actually happens. So I actually got to give him his flowers. He got a lot of people on him last year. So coming in this season, scoring goals, finishing those chances, got to give him his flowers. For Chelsea, their next team, the team I'm really impressed with, but I also was really impressed with their manager first season, Ancelotti. Let's talk about Liverpool. Excellent form for Liverpool at the moment. Basically, they've won the last 2 games by 2-0 against top teams, Man City and Real Madrid, in all competitions, and won the last 7 in all competitions, and have also won 14 of their last 15 games in all competitions. The only one game they didn't win was a draw against Arsenal. That's a long stretch of sustained winning. So what do you think about Liverpool? They are top of the league with 34 points, 9 points clear of second place here, Arsenal, in the English Premier League, and doing well in the Champions League as well. For Liverpool, I don't get sold easily, but I watched a few press conferences, listen to Ancelotti. I love accountability. I love a guy that actually says it for what it is, instead of actually selling dreams and hopes. I like Ancelotti.
Mm-hmm. No, I think Liverpool so far, they've been the brightest lights. Like it's like the city on the hill. They are like, yeah, the shining city on the hill. Everybody looks up at them because they are doing well on all fronts. And the beautiful thing, at least for Arne Slot, is he came in with, yes, you might say Klopp is gone, big shoes to fill, but comparatively lesser expectations because nobody knew what he was going to do. And
I agree, but he didn't put less expectations on himself because that team was already a good team without adding much.
No, so again, the way Arne Slot would speak in a press conference would differ from how Maresca would speak in a press conference.
Oh no, that's
right?
fine.
Because,
right, I get that.
Because you are inheriting a team with arguably the best winger in the league's history.
Who is currently not under contract. That's a thing we're gonna be watching out for.
He has a year left.
Yeah.
Right? And then there is Virgil van Dijk manning the defense, one of the best defenders to have ever played in the league. You have Alisson Becker in post. So the spine of the team exists already. Right? So what Arne Slot has come in to do, and so much I'm going to give him his flowers. Because yes, sometimes coaches come and they want to stamp their authority, right, from get-go. But in this case, he's noticed that there is a template that has worked. So what do? I add just a few moving pieces. He wanted Zubimendi. He didn't get him. He's made something out of Gravenberch so far. Right? Using the Dutch connection they have to make, because Gravenberch was signed for a certain amount from Bayern Munich for a reason. Right? And we weren't seeing that under Klopp. But Arne Slot has come in and again just move a few pieces here and there and then let them express themselves. You have Alexander Trent on your team. You have VVD. You have Robertson, even though he's been very poor this season. You come to the middle of the park. Yes, that is where Liverpool needed some reinforcements. They were not able to get some reinforcements, but it's not enough excuse because at the top he has enough firepower from Luis Diaz, Darwin Núñez, Diogo Jota, even though he's injured now, to Salah. Right? So the pieces were already there. So all he needed to do was come in and then just remind them of how good they are. Because you've been by far Pep's biggest competition in the apocalypse he's created in the league. Yes, you were not able to win it apart from the COVID one that you won, but you pushed this man to 98 points at some point and 96 points at some point. That wins you the league anywhere in the world. Right? So the materials are there. And Slot has come in. This is one philosophy I have personally. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Right? He's come in, nothing is broken as much. Just move a few pieces here and there, and so far, so very good. So Slot has been very good. He's doing very well. When it comes to coaches and first impressions, early impressions, Postecoglou did that to Tottenham. Conte came from nowhere to win the league with Chelsea when Chelsea was 10th the previous season under Mourinho. Mourinho came from Porto to win Chelsea's first Premier League in 50 years. So what Slot is doing is not different. And what I believe is likely going to happen is coaches will figure him out with time. Because I've watched them a couple of times. They don't look as convincing enough. Maybe it looks like they are picking steam so far. But they didn't look as convincing at the beginning of the season. But Salah was there. And he gets them over the finish line. Right? That is what world-class players do. And that is what Salah has been doing for them since the season began. Right? But I get the sense that coaches will figure him out with time and as to how he adjusts. Right? Because it's still just 13 games. Yes, he's done exceedingly well in Europe too. But as to how he adjusts, we will live to see. But so far, so very good. He's doing very well. He deserves all the praise and plaudits because he's put in the work.
Oh yeah. As you said, it's a wait and see thing for me. But yes. I've got stocks in Arne Slot, and I love it, basically. Now, the final topic we're going to be talking about, maybe before we talk about something else, would be Arsenal's title chances. Because in my opinion, coming into the season, looking at the changes in Chelsea with Enzo Maresca and Arne Slot, I felt like Man City is going to take a step back. There's a lot of pressure put on all those players. I think it was very fortunate of them with the kind of with kind of high pressure games that they played, winning the Champions League a couple of years ago and everything. I thought last year was going to be the rough year for them injury wise. They came out of that. This year, I knew at some point they would have to struggle. I thought Arsenal being so close and pushing them last year, being part of that pressure as well. Last season, I thought Arsenal would be the people taking the spot of Liverpool right now. They are still within touching distance. They are playing a little bit better. They have won 3 games convincing in all competitions by a 3-goal margin recently. In all competitions, struggled a little bit before that. What do you think are their title chances for them? 9 points behind Liverpool at the moment, because basically right now I'm rating Arteta based on first, second, like trying to get that title in the English Premier League.
I think Arteta has no excuse this season. It's as simple as that, right? This project is 5 years in maturation. We need to see something at the end of it all.
If he wins a trophy, would that count for him?
You don't win just any trophy.
Let's say he gets second position and goes deep in the Champions League, like the semi-finals.
It is still not enough.
Okay.
Right? It is still not enough. Unless, again, because from the outside looking in, we know us now of a certain status. Right? And then they are falling giants over time. And then you look like you have resurrected a sleeping giant. So you might as well just show that you belong, and then you are back fully, and not just flirt with the top. Right? You've 5 years of giving him the benefit of the doubt. You won one COVID FA Cup against Frank Lampard. And that has been it. In his first season, that has been it. He hasn't done anything significantly different. Yes, per Arsenal standards, from 8th to 2nd, yes, it's a leap, but now finish it. Right? Klopp lost a couple of finals when he first came, but eventually he showed that yes, the quality is there, and then he won. When he was in the drive to win, he just won quite consistently. He won almost everything there was to win, even though he won just one of each, but still enough. Maybe the Carling Cup won twice or 3 times. Yes, right. So Arsenal, I won't discount Arsenal just yet, because since Odegaard returned, you can clearly tell why Odegaard is the captain of the side. Right? He knows what he's about. He controls the Arsenal game through and through. And one thing Arsenal seem to have done quite well this season too is their set pieces, especially from the corner, where they've come up with a strategy that seems to work for them. Gabriel is scoring a lot from corner kicks, because they have a certain way in which they huddle up at some point before the corner comes in. They have a way in which they
that set piece coach for Arsenal, he's doing a fantastic job. By the way,
that's why they paid top dollar for him. Arsenal has no excuse. To me, there's no excuse anywhere. And this is Ancelotti's first season in the league. You can't be in the league for this long and still be telling us we should wait for early morning days, because the glory cometh in the morning, or joy cometh in the morning.
Is the night going to pass?
Please.
How long are we going to stay in the night? When will the clock switch?
Please, we beg you. Or if that is the case, maybe just maybe this is the level, the highest level you can get to, because there's certain coaches that work that way. That is what Claudio Ranieri did with Chelsea before Abramovich took over. He led the club to the 2nd position, and Abramovich came in and said, "Okay, you are a good coach. The fans love you, but I feel there's someone with much more fire to take the club where I wanted to go to." So there's nothing wrong with you being the coach that leads the flock to the entry of the gate, and someone. So that's the Bible story where someone, Canaan, right?
Do you know who could?
You get them to Canaan, someone else takes them across the finish line.
Takes them into the promised land, yeah.
Simple, right? Maybe, just maybe, we might want to have to come to an agreement that is Arteta's level. This is the farthest he can go with maximizing the most that he can get out of this crop of players that they have. Right? So this season, there's no excuse. 5 years into this project, yes, there've been some beautiful highlights, especially for the Arsenal fans, because they haven't been this competitive in a very long time. Right? But it is about time that at least you put a silverware to it, so we know that, okay, now you are here, you belong, you are a genuine threat. You can't just be flirting with the top and then trying to stake a claim that you're a top manager as well. Top managers win trophies, so you should do that.
Oh yeah, I entering the season, I thought he should be able to win the title this year based on the challenges of the other teams. That's the only way that, in my opinion, you can consider this a great season is if he wins the title this season. For me personally, he comes in around second. I would still love to see the project continue. I still think he could be the man if he's still second. There's a case that I could make for him at that point, maybe a year or two more to see if he gets over the hump, in my opinion.
Yes, to win
See, the giant bully, in my opinion, called Pep Guardiola, sent Jurgen Klopp running out of the Premier League.
No, but when
you're seven. Yes, I would. I guess I'm talking about the Premier League, right? I'm not really talking about all the other cups. He needs to win something. That's why I was asking if he comes second, semi-finals, or wins FA Cup. For me, like you said, he needs to win something. I totally agree with that. But if he's close to the top in the Premier League, specific to the Premier League, I wouldn't assess that as complete failure, but he needs to win something. I would agree with that sentiment for sure for Arsenal. At the moment, I know I just I don't know any other things in soccer that you wanted to actually take a look at. Champions League, top stories in soccer, before we call it quits on this episode for the show.
I think we have been blessed with a healthy dose of football games over the past few weeks. The struggles of one of my favorite players of current times still is bewildering to me, but it is something that people could call from afar to, which is Mbappe's struggles at Madrid. It is not nice to look at because of course
I'm very forgiving of struggles early on in a new team.
Of course.
Like for me, I am someone that actually thinks we need to give people time. I know there are high expectations, high levels, but I think the adjustment in a new team is beyond football. New city, new food, new environment, the things that make you comfortable, the bed you sleep at night, you get to adjust to it. So usually I'm like, let's give people a little time. I understand what you mean. He missed the penalty against Liverpool. I didn't think that was funny, but
no, I think giving him time and the leeway is fine. But the challenging part here is if you're a bona fide superstar, people have very little room for consideration. Haaland moved to Man City and then was doing wicked numbers. In this generation and the current crop of players, at least the media is trying to replicate the Messi Ronaldo's rivalry with him and Haaland. Even though yes, they are grades below these two great players that we've mentioned. But again, Haaland is also having his struggles too, of course. But I feel for a player of Mbappe's caliber, people were expecting a lot more, and deservedly so, because he's proven time and over that he is a top talent. His struggles, yes, you can attribute it to a number of things, because he likes to play from the left. And sadly for him, he moved at a time where one of the very best in the world also plays in that position, right? He moved 2 years too late, where there's somebody who has made the position his own. So he has to play from the middle. And Mbappe has mentioned time and over that he doesn't enjoy playing from the middle. And it's been very evident from how he's been caught in the offside traps quite consistently all through the season, because he's someone that relies heavily on his pace. Right? So given that he now has to readjust when to move and when to time his runs through the middle, it's been evident to tell that he's struggling. My initial position was he moved at Madrid at the wrong time, with the best person at the helm to ease him in, which is Ancelotti. So far in the Champions League, he hasn't been looking too good, but in the league he's doing quite well, scoring a few goals here and there. This weekend he scored a very beautiful goal, a very Mbappe-esque goal. He got the ball from the left, cut in 1-2, finesse to the far corner. Textbook Mbappe goal. Right, but can he sustain this? Probably not, because Vinicius will be back soon. Right, so Mbappe is like of course, outside of the Premier League, the hottest thing to talk about now, because the height of expectation as against what we are getting so far is not tallying. But as you rightly mentioned, we just need to give it time, and I am more than confident he will come good, because a player of Mbappe's caliber won't just be a flop like.
Nah, like even the change of position, it's very difficult for people that have done it so well at a certain position to actually change. It takes a different level of being open and learning really fast to be able to make the adjustments. And a key point you made was the offside thing. It takes a while for these top strikers to know how to actually stay onside. It's a skill about not going, and Mbappe is really fast. You might
Very.
forget once in a while that you're in the middle of the field and these center
Yeah.
backs are communicating constantly to keep you offside, right? So once that happens a few times and you look at what's going on, he should be able to adjust to that as soon as possible. Yeah, so that'll be it, the end for the show for this episode of Let's Talk Football with myself, CT, and Danielle. I'm glad to have you here once again, talking football. This is Tuesday, December 3, as of this recording, right? There's a lot of interesting football coming up midweek, December 4 and December 3. Basically, a few games have been played already, and then a couple of games. And then on December 4th, we have Nottingham going away to Manchester City, and also Southampton at home versus Chelsea. Just to name a few for that. For everyone listening, I appreciate you. Just a little bit banter here, talking football. I love doing this. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you.
As well, for everyone listening, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, leave comments about what you think. You think Pep is a great manager or not? I'd love to hear it. I want to hear the arguments for or against Pep. But I also want to mention a few things about the current Man City situation, which is the fact that I'm glad Pep got a new contract to deal with this. But the other part about it is I know he made a joke about it, but he shouldn't be scratching his face or trying to hurt himself at the same time. As human beings, we all know he might be Pep, but he also is going through a tough time not winning. But that's what it is. For other people to win, sometimes you gotta lose. And that's basically how some this actually goes. We love the competition. Gotta go out there and win. And thank you so much, Daniel, and for everyone. Thank you so much. Peace.
Thank you.